Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the technical trader at techtrader.com. It's Thursday, and it's the 23rd of July. It was another ugly day on Wall Street. Great day for trading at techtrader.com. We had a lot of nice winners. I'll show you a few of them and some of the better looking stocks today, and I'll throw in a couple of the Boxer shorts that did well too. AFOP Alliance Fiber Optics was a day trade today. Opens at 20.5. It got up to 22.35 and backed off to 21.73, but it was still up 290 or 15%. On $1.5 million, that's the best volume on an up day, as far as I can see, in a year plus. So we're up against resistance, or we were this morning when we got up to 22.60. Today's high 22.35. So you can see that there's a line of resistance up in here. But the channel that's been forming on this now looks like 24 is the next target, and that would be a test of the 2013 high up about, let's say, just call it 23 and a quarter. And we get to that level, we could have a lot more to go, but we'll see. Don't forget, we've been long in the tooth for about the last year and a quarter, year and a half, from 11, about doubling here. ANTH, our swing trade, acts well. It made another new high today, but it did back off and closed only up 14 cents or 1.3%, but it did reach 11.62 from a week and a half ago when it's trading at 7.45, so we're up nearly 50% just in the last couple weeks and acting well. Although the volume could be a little bit better here, it increased for the last 3 days on the upside. So I'm looking for this stock to see whether we can get this to move a little bit further. I got a target there, 15, 14.5, 15 is my next target zone. Up next is ASPS. What a nice day for trading on that one, as it opened at 35.84 and blasted to 41.30, 41.23, some 5.5 points higher before backing off to 39.54, up 860. Nearly 28% on nearly 2 million shares. Great day and a breakout across key resistance. At this point, I would not be surprised to see it make a run at 45.6. That's my next trading target. Look for pullback ups. Cypress Semi with a strong earnings report popped, but I did want to show you that it held the majority of its gains. But here's something interesting. When you get to the bottom of a channel in a long three-wave corrective pullback and you form an island reversal, take a look. Gaps down and gaps up, leaving an island, and it did it at the bottom of the channel. So yesterday's low, I think, is very important, down around that 1095 range. And today it popped all the way as high as 1246 near the declining moving average and 50, declining tops line of moving average. And so there may be some resistance up here. You notice it pulled back to the breakout point. So I'm thinking it's going to extend. The key watch on this one is about 12.75, and through that I'm looking for 14. Maybe 14.25, half. Here's your chart. Promising action. EGHT, well, we've traded this a couple of times unsuccessfully. The stock looks like a left shoulder, head right shoulder. It ran up, almost broke out there, backed off. Almost broke out there, backed off. Notice how it's held support. Your stop for sure is under 8.15. But now with the trend line doing what it's doing here, I'm looking for this to move finally up through that 9.5 range, which is the next target. If we get through that, we can see the stock all the way up to 11.5. Well, Fibrocell has been moving nicely, and look at the pop from the low 2s to the high 6s just in the last several months. But the more important move is here, when it broke out above this spike and then pulled back and tested it and held the moving average as well. Since then, the stock is in a nice parallel rising channel with a top potentially up around the 8.5 range. If we get up through this current level around 7, we should see 8.5. FEYE took a nice little pop today, so did the whole group. As a matter of fact, with CYBE up more than 4. This jumped to 11 or 4.5%. Volume increased to 8.5 million. That's the best volume in 3-4 weeks. So what I'm looking for is to see if this can get through 51. Once that occurs, we should be on our way to 53, 55, and then eventually upwards of 60. But keep in mind the current short-term lows at 46.5 would be a key stop. Big day for Flowtech. Good earnings report. Notice the major declining tops line, multiple waves down over the last year, broken out with a big thrust on 10+ million shares. Now that's the biggest volume I've ever seen on this stock. And although there is more overhead resistance up at the 1920 range, which I suspect may get tested, as a matter of fact, it hit 1864 today before backing off a point. It was still up a whopping 485 or 38%. And so I'm expecting to see that tested. And if we get through that, this could very well be in the low 20s. FTNT, another member of the cybersecurity group, doing well. Today it was jumping 453 or almost 11% on nearly 7 million shares, the biggest volume since April when it popped here. So the only proviso is that the stock is now at the top of the channel. Unless we accelerate through here, we could see a bit of a pullback, similar to what happened here when it consolidated for next month after that. I'm hoping that doesn't occur. I'm looking for 50. IDRA took a pop today and blew through the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern and out of this coil. Volume picked up to 4.3 million. It didn't close great, but it was still up 20 cents or 5.5%. But unfortunately, about 20 cents off the high. We'll see if it is able to follow through. My targets are now 4.5 or so, and then all the way up here at 5.5. INFN did great. This is one of our long-term plays, one of the charts of the year on my current top 25 list, and you can see why. Perfect channel up. Now looking for this to extend and make it up towards 26, maybe 27 short term. iTech, maybe the star of the day. Let's look at it in a 1 minute chart. Well, not this, maybe the star of the month. Here's a stock that out of nowhere explodes on drug news and coils for a couple hours. We were in early, we were in there, we ran that stock up beautifully. I think most of us probably stopped out when it broke down here, and then drifted into the close. After hours, pretty much going sideways and not breaking down, which to me is an incredible sign of an innate underlying strength. Take a look at that coil that developed there over the last several hours. If it gaps up tomorrow, do not be surprised if it runs at that 16.5 3/4 range. Once that's taken out, we can still see 18 or 19, maybe more, but let's keep in mind that it's a coil that, if broken down, anything under this level here would get me out for sure, under 14 and let's see, 14, 40, 50 is support. Hell of a pop, isn't it? NWBO with another good day. It continues its uptrend. It's looking good. It was up another 22 cents or 2%. Mine was good. It did back off the highs, but it does project up to about the 13.25 range short term, top of the channel. Long term, you can see that it's got a couple spikes up in the high teens and low 20s. Let's call this a very important point of resistance, but that's way up there in the 25 range. For now, I'd be looking to see if it does extend, whether we can make a run at the 11 range. Excuse me, not 11, I'm sorry. 20 range. 1920 would be a longer term target. For now, let's see if we can get up to 13 and make it up to 16, 17. OPK acting better. Popped through resistance today. Didn't close great, but it traded 6.5 million. That's the best volume in a couple, 3 weeks. And it did break through the resistance line here. I'm hoping now that we're going to see a run that takes us up near the 18.5, 19 zone. 18 3/4, 19 is my next target. Then looking at 21.5, 21 3/4. SCO, as I indicated to you, I feel oil's going down, and this one could be a good trade. Well, after it popped and coiled there in the high 60, 70 range, now 84.50 at the high today, closing 83.25. That was up 179 or 2.2%. Volume isn't especially strong, and there is resistance right up here at about 87.5. So watch for that tomorrow. If it should get through that, then you got clear sailing into the 94-foot range. SLTD, very pleased with what I saw today. After the explosive 6 million share day, it traded another 1.3 million, mostly on the upside from what I saw in terms of buying, particularly late in the day. And that inside day is a positive day. I'm looking for the stock to, and it closed right under 50, by the way. I'm looking for the stock to move up through 414 and make a run at 490. Now, also want to point out that after hours, they did come out with some news of a new contract with City of Fresno, California for over 10 million. That's huge for a $40 million company. I'd be surprised if it didn't move higher tomorrow. I'm looking for a test of, like I said, 475.90 zone. And finally, TXMD in the long side popped and broke out of this beautiful 6-week coil. After holding the trend line, moving averages and price support, now it popped. Now it did get up to 883, but backed off to 850, so it was only up 3.4%. Volume was hefty at 2.3 million, and I'm expecting now to make a run at an 890 range. If it gets through that level, let's just call this the resistance, today's high. Through that level, we could see mid-range around 10, 9 3/4, 10, and then all the way up to the 11 and a half, 12 range. Let's take a quick switch over to see some of our boxes shorts that did well today. It was a stellar day for a few of our shorts. Constant contact looks like this wedge may be breaking down as it dropped back $1.25 or 4%. And it may be after 1, 2, 3, and 4, we may see another fifth wave down that ultimately takes us into the low 20s. But for now, let's see if we can break 26 support. Fossil, the designer stocks continue to get weak. And you can see that this coil here broke to the downside as it dropped 207 or 3%. The problem is, where's it going now? Probably a test of this zone down here would be forthcoming around 64. High crush partners continue to get highly crushed. No pun intended. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this 1, 2, 3 within the fifth wave? Well, I can tell you now that this spike down with heavy volume near the spike, not these lows, is getting near a point where I start to think about covering. Yes, it may get down towards 15. It may do worse than that. Something is really wrong here. The stock has dropped from the 70 range down to 18, and it doesn't look good, obviously. But at the same time, it's been down for like 6, 7 days in a row with heavy volume down here. Begin to start thinking about if we get any more downside, taking some profits. Norfolk Southern, well, the railroads, as I pointed out to you, were in dire straits. This beautiful bear wedge at around 93 broke, and now it is 10 points lower at 83, with a target now at 80 and then 74. TAL also broke here, bear wedge there, bear flag there, spiked down, snapped back, unable to do anything with it, dropped another 97 cents at 3.3%. And quite frankly, I'm not seeing where the bottom is in here until he gets down to at least the 23 range. TNet, also a boxer swing short, broke, bear wedged, rolled over slowly but kept going, formed the bear wedge, and then today retesting support right there. This looks bad. If we break here, we can see him move down to 22 quickly. And Union Pacific, another railroad, under dire pressure, down 556 or 5.7%. You can see how ugly this looks. Not sure where the low is going to be on this one, but it wouldn't surprise me to see mid-80s. And United Rentals, one of our box of swing shorts, doing very well, broke this flag, came down, formed a mini wedge, and then got crushed today for 1065 or almost 14%. Breaking everything, and this may be headed as low as 60 here. Stay tuned. That's it for tonight, everyone. Have a good evening.